In the last week or so, I've been hearing from a lot of folks asking what it is I have against earnouts as part of the structure involved in a buyout. And the direct answer is nothing. However, what usually happens in a small buyout, especially if it's a first-time seller, founder, entrepreneur who spent, decades building up the business, private equity firm comes along, tells them their company's worth a lot of money, tells them they'd love to get involved with them and invest in the business and, grow it together with them and play for the second bite of the apple. The first-time founder doesn't know necessarily what any of that means. And when the private equity investor starts talking about the valuation, let's say it's $20 million, the founder is thinking that pretty soon, once they go through some kind of process, he's going to have $20 million, net of taxes in his bank account. And if the private equity firm, and I'm not picking on them, it's just that strategic buyers don't typically use earnouts as a means of financing a transaction. But what typically happens is some portion, let's call it 50, 60%, might be cash at the close. So $10, $12 million of that 20 comes over. That's what ends up in the bank account. And then let's say that the founder has told the private equity firm that they're going to grow at 25% a year for the next couple of years. The savvy private equity buyer says, okay, well, I'll pay you an even higher multiple on that further growth or the same multiple on those bigger numbers in the future. The founder thinks that's a great deal and they're going to get that other 8 million and maybe more by having that earnout. And the tricky thing is that the founder might no longer control some of the critical factors that will lead to producing that level of EBITDA or those levels of economics because the business is now different and because the balance sheet and income statement are now controlled by someone else. And so what happens in the worst case scenarios here is that the founder ends up with only that first $10 or $12 million, doesn't get the earnout payment, has a bad relationship with the private equity firm, and may or may not ever get a second bite of the apple, and it leaves everybody sour in the process. Private equity firm might make a lot of money because they didn't have to pay as much for the business, but the founder is embittered and sold his asset way too cheaply. He just didn't know it at the time. So if there's something I got against earnouts, that's it in a nutshell. They can be, in the right circumstances, a fantastic way to capitalize on growth that the founder believes is going to continue to happen. And the private equity buyer is only too happy to pay for it if it does happen. We'll talk more about that in another episode. Have a great week.